Oh, here we are again, folks. This is Mike again from Mike's Magic Auto Detailing and Paint Enhancement / Correction here in Sharpsburg, Georgia on a mighty fine Saturday. Welcome to the weekend, everybody. Hope it's going great for you. Hope it's going great. This is the next installment in this particular series of videos, and I'm about to show you guys if I'm going to do just a quickie polish and improve the paint dramatically, but not do the deep corrections that I do on most of my customers' cars, which could take me up to a week sometimes even longer. But this one is something you can do. Follow the other videos I just posted, the previous 3 I think it was, and then you can do this and your paint will be improved to an extent, probably 60-70% or more of what it was beforehand. You know, we've strip washed it, clay barred it, and all that. That was all covered in the earlier videos. And what I'm about to do is use a all-in-one polish, and there are plenty of these available on the retail level. They are pretty good, most of them. This particular one, I'm not sure if you can buy it on the retail level. It's 3D Speed. As you can see on the label there, it is a one-step correction glaze, polish and protect, high gloss finish. What that means is it is mildly abrasive and it is pretty much pad dependent, and it leaves behind what they call Monton wax / sealant on the paint, which is why it's called an all-in-one. You polish and leave behind protection all at one time. Now if you want to put more protection on it, you can over the top of it, but you have to use what's called a top coat. I use Kingsguard or TK6 as it's called, because you can put it over the top of anything. You can't put just anything over the top of this. If you put any kind of cleaner product on there, / wax, blah blah blah, it will just clean off what you've left behind with this. And what I'm going to do is, as I've always told you folks, always work clean. It hasn't been just a few minutes since I finished washing this, drying it, and all that kind of stuff, but you know, just in the event that I'm gonna shake up my bottle here, there's any dust has landed on there, what I'm gonna do is spritz a little quick detail, and more about this product in another video, on a good quality, relatively low pile microfiber towel. I'm just going to polish this one section here, and what I'm going to do is just quickly wipe this down to make sure that when I put the polisher to it, it is on clean paint, because I don't want to be grinding dust and any particulates into the paint with my buffer. Give that a minute or two to kind of dry. I want it dry because I don't want the polishing pad just to hydroplane across the surface from the moisture that's there. Yeah, okay then. We'll talk. This particular quick detail leaves nothing behind. In fact, this one they say you can use as a panel prep, which is just exactly what I just did. Or you can use a dedicated panel prep. I like it because it's got a little bit of cleaning qualities in it, but we'll talk about the quick detailers and that sort of stuff in another segment at another time. But what I'm going to use is, this is a very expensive buffer. It's a 3-inch dual action. It's a flex. It's about $350 worth with an orange Lake Country pad on it. This is a medium pad. It's not a cutting pad. It's not exactly a polishing pad, but it's relatively, you can always tell by feeling of them. You know, the polishing pads, finishing pads are very smooth. This one is a little rougher than that, and your cutting pads are even rougher than this one. I'm just using this particular polisher because it's cordless, as you can see, and I have to drag out a bunch of stuff. and it's a little smoother to use, a little quieter. I have 2 other ones, and you can change the backing plates on this very easily. They're designed where you can, all you have to do to change a backing plate is that. It's called a quick change. And there's different drives, different size backing plates for different size pads, blah 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 blah. Now I have a 3-inch griot polisher, dual action. This is dual action, that I bought, I don't know, probably 10 years or more. It still works fine, but I get tired of the cords, and I wanted something a little bit better quality, so that's why I bought this one. But you don't have to have this expensive one. The griots are very good polishers, and a lot of times you can find those at O'Reilly's or one of those places. They are fine polishers. They're not quite as good as this one, plus I wanted the cordless technology. But you can buy those. You can go to Harbor Freight and buy one, and for most of y'all's purposes, those entry-level polishers, as we call them, are just fine. They're just fine. I can't make use of them because they're not durable enough to hold up to the long hours and hours and days and continuous use that I do. I need a heavier duty, stronger motor, all that kind of stuff. And one of the important things is when you're using a dual action polisher, and what dual action means is it rotates and it also oscillates back and forth. This particular one, I think, has a 12mm throw. Most of the ones you're going to buy at the store will have a shorter one. It doesn't really matter. Don't overthink the moment, folks. Just get you one and get going. Get you a decent pad. There again, I don't buy retail pads. I have to order these from Lake Country. They're extremely high quality, very durable, last a long time, do a great job. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But what I'm going to do, a lot of people will precondition their pads. I have some pad preconditioner, but I don't need it for this demonstration. And you can spray it on your pad, and there's all kind of products for that, stuff you can do. And I'm only going to put a little bit of that on here. And what I like to do is just spread it around on the pad. Do it however you want to do. Plenty of videos out there on how to do this. And you want a medium speed, because all these buffers have speed settings. I'd say 2, 3, 4 at the most, depending on how bad your paint is. Somebody asked me, how much down pressure do you put on it? Almost none. Of course, if you're not getting where you want to be, you can put a little bit more. And these dual action polishers are relatively safe. It's almost impossible to burn your paint or mess up your paint with one unless you just really try hard. Now, if you bear down on it and leave it sit in one spot, yeah, it might. But I'm just going to do a small section here right quick. And what I like to do is just tap it out, just to kind of get it started spreading. And I will turn the speed down, spread it a little bit more evenly. And I'm going to crank it up to about 4. You see, you have to manipulate this thing a little bit to keep it rotating, because even though this panel looks flat, it isn't. If you're having a problem doing that, keeping it rotating, then you can always turn the speed up. That'll give you a little bit more horsepower. You'll get a feel for it. You'll learn how to manipulate the buffer as you go along. Every kind of buffer is just a little bit different. You notice I'm making overlapping passes about 50%. That's what, about 5 or 6 passes, low pressure. If after you wipe off and you're not getting exactly the progress you think you should, you can always slow your arm speed down, maybe increase the down pressure some. This stuff has a very long working time, as we call it. It doesn't dry out. Not very quickly, especially if you're in the shade like I am. I would always suggest you do this out of direct sunlight whenever possible. You'll get better results faster. And this is what they call nanotechnology. I'm not sure actually what that means. Also, I think it's referred to as DAT, diminishing abrasive technology, which means when you first start putting it on, buffing with it, it's more aggressive, but as you go, those polishing particles, they start breaking down, so that gives you a long working time, and they get finer and finer and finer, so that you can kind of finish out all in one step. I rarely use this stuff because most of my work calls for a lot more aggressive approach than this stuff is. But for a quickie polish, this stuff is hard to beat. And now, after I did this section, as you can see, I've got some stuff on the pad. Mine's not bad, but you'll see that you get stuff accumulated on here. So after every section, you would either clean the pad using a pad washer, using a bucket of soapy water, blah, 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 blah. Or they make pad cleaners, or you can do what we call clean it on the fly. And a lot of times that's what I'll do. You just turn the buffer on and you hold a medium bristle brush on it and clean off the surface of the pad, because it gets all gunked up with clear coat, all kinds of stuff, and once it gets a little bit gunked up, it's not going to work as well. And plus you run the risk of, when you go on to the next section, that all those stuff you picked up off of this section, you're now trying to polish this paint with it, and you're going to introduce about as much scratching as you get rid of. And another way you can do is take a 100% cotton cloth like this one. This is a hospital grade. There again, you just turn the buffer on, you hold this against it and clean that pad off. That's all you got to do. Microfiber towel will not work for this. Trust me, it will not. So, at any rate, we hit up that one little section there, and then I'll take, again, a medium, high-grade microfiber towel, check it, make sure it's smooth, that there's nothing that's going to scratch the paint when I take this off, and just gently wipe this stuff off. You don't have to rub hard to get it off. And it leaves behind a very nice shine and gloss, folks. Durability, probably depending on whether your car lives inside, outside, how often it gets driven, I'd say 3 weeks, maybe a little bit better. But you know what, if you're in a hurry and you're not that discerning and you just want to dramatically improve the appearance of your paint, this stuff is really hard to beat, especially if you're pressed for time. And a lot of my customers, not a lot, but some of them, this is all they want to pay for. They don't care if you still got some marring behind. But I'm looking, and I don't see any of that micro marring that was left from either washing it or clay barring it. I'd say 80–90% of it is gone. There's still a little bit, and I could either repeat that process and probably get it a little better. But I mean, when you got to get an inspection light out to see it, you know, and from a foot away you can't see it, and you have to get one of these out, most people are going to be very, very happy with that. Now this is not going to get deeper scratches out, blemishes in the paint, that sort of thing. It will improve them to some degree, but it will not get rid of them. Then you're back into wet sanding, compounding, and all that stuff, which is the vast majority of what I do. But that's something that y'all can do with a all-in-one from the local stores, Walmart, O'Reilly's, places like that, Harbor Freight. Get one of the medium pads that they have available. Hell, just get you a Griot's dual action polisher. Get you a Harbor Freight one. They'll probably hold up to no more use and abuse than most of you will give them. And you can get a bigger backing plate polisher if you like. Most of the time for this I would use a 5-inch, but I just happen to grab the 3-inch for no particular reason. My 5-inch, I think I have to have a cord with it, so I didn't want to drag out all the cords and all that stuff. So, you know, that is hard to beat, folks, for most people. Most people, that is all they want. I appreciate it. Oh boy, thank y'all very much. I appreciate everybody coming by. Have a great weekend. This is so long for now from Mike. I think next we'll talk about quick detailers, the differences, not the differences in brand, the differences in types, and the differences in types of rinseless washes. And folks, if you don't have rinseless wash available to you, you are really, really missing out on the boat. They are fast, and a lot of professionals, that's all they do is rinseless washes. And but we'll talk about that in more depth of detail. Some of you might live in an apartment complex like my friend Deanna, where you're not allowed to get a hose out and wash your car. So a rinseless wash in her situation would be ideal. It's not hard to do, and like I say, it's very fast. And it's great for the winter time when you know, it's too cold to get the hose and the pressure washer out and all that stuff in buckets of water and blah, 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 blah. And there again, there are probably 100 videos on YouTube on how to do a rinseless or a waterless wash. Those are two different things. I'm not overly fond of waterless, but you may be, I don't know. But we'll talk about all that in the next video. Thank y'all for dropping by. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Bye now.